I believe that we can own the 21st century market again by moving to electric vehicles.
Whatever your opinions are on the Biden administration, there are some things you should know if you own an electric vehicle or are looking to buy one in the next 4 years. Funny enough, even though America is incredibly polarized politically right now, I was pleasantly surprised to see EVs supported by both Republicans and Democrats, and even by Trump and Biden directly in the debates a few months ago. Biden's plan on a basic level is to reinstate the $7,500 tax credit, install over 500,000 new charging stations, and bring more manufacturing jobs to America with electric vehicles. So as of today, that $7,500 tax credit is still available, but it is slowly phased out after a manufacturer sells 200,000 vehicles. So if we use Tesla as an example, anybody that bought a Tesla prior to Tesla selling over 200,000 vehicles could get the full federal tax credit amount of $7,500. Tesla hit that 200,000 vehicles sold mark in 2018, so starting January 1st of 2019, that tax credit got halved to $3,750. Then on July 1st of 2019, that got halved to $1,875, and then it went away completely at the end of 2019. And it is no longer available to anyone that buys a brand new Tesla. GM is the only other manufacturer that has reached that 200,000 vehicle limit, and their tax credit goes away completely at the end of March of this year. So keep in mind, currently this is a tax credit, not a tax deduction. It is also a non-refundable credit, so it can only reduce your tax liability up to the amount of that credit. So if your tax liability is more than the credit amount, then you can get that full credit amount. But if your tax liability is less than that credit amount, then you can only level out your tax liability down to $0. So in my case, buying an electric vehicle, I bought my car in November of 2019, and fortunately, being a Tesla, I could still take advantage of that tax credit. And in my case, it was $1,875 at the time. So I took delivery of my car, but unfortunately it does not come when you purchase the car, it comes as part of your tax return. So when I filed my taxes for 2019, I filled out the form to show that I had bought an electric vehicle, how much credit I was able to take advantage of, and submitted that all to the IRS. And this directly reduced my tax liability, or the amount that I owed on taxes, by that credit amount, which in my case was $1,875. Since my employer also withholds taxes, I was able to take advantage of the full phase-out credit amount. Again, that's $1,875. This means that I was owed a refund because after I added up all the withholdings from my employer, it ended up being more than my tax liability after I subtracted the credit amount for buying my car. So according to Biden's climate plan, it says this: Biden will restore the full electric vehicle tax credit to incentivize the purchase of these vehicles. He will ensure the tax credit is designed to target middle-class consumers, and to the greatest extent possible to prioritize the purchase of vehicles made in America. So without a lot of details here is what I think that means. I believe the full $7,500 tax credit will be reinstated for all manufacturers, even Tesla and GM, that have already sold over 200,000 vehicles. So instead of expiring after a manufacturer sells like 200,000 vehicles, they're just going to set a year cap on this. So let's say this gets passed next year in 2021, it might expire sometime around 2030, for example. And any car sold in that time would be eligible for this federal tax credit. This way you don't incentivize companies to delay production and sales of electric vehicles. Right now, this almost penalizes manufacturers for selling a lot of electric vehicles, and hopefully this would do the opposite. Since the plan says it is targeted towards middle-class consumers, I believe there will also be some sort of sales price cap on who and what vehicles are eligible for this tax credit. Basically, if you can afford an $80,000 EV, you probably don't need the help that this tax credit is designed to provide. This may also mean making this tax credit a refundable credit, meaning that even if you have a tax liability of less than $7,500, like a lot of middle-class people do, then you'll be able to take full advantage of that tax credit and get it as part of your tax return. As for benefiting cars made in America, we also might see a reduced tax credit for any kind of vehicle that is produced outside the US. So if cars produced in Europe, for example, and shipped into the US, they might not be able to take full advantage of that tax credit. I'm not a political expert by any means, but I feel the chances of this actually getting passed are pretty high, with the Democrats having a trifecta with the House, the Senate, and the presidency to get this bill passed. I know this tax credit is something they've been trying to get passed for a while now, so hopefully with all the control they have, they'll be able to push this one through. As for installing new chargers, Biden's climate plan says this: there are now 1 million electric vehicles on the road in the United States, but a key barrier to further development of the greenhouse gas reducing vehicles is the lack of charging stations and coordination across all levels of government. As president, Biden will work with our nation's governors and mayors to support the deployment of more than 500,000 new public charging outlets by the end of 2030. 1 million EVs in the United States is actually still a very small percentage of vehicles, as we have over 270 million vehicles registered in the United States as of 2018. But that number is increasing quickly, and there are projected to be over 18 million EVs on the roads by 2030. And at that 18 times increase in electric vehicles in total, we're going to need a better charging infrastructure to handle all of those vehicles. Now, granted, a lot of people can charge at home in their garage or their driveway, but there are still lots of Americans living in multi-unit dwellings and don't have a good place to charge their car. Along with all of the people that will be traveling, we're going to need a lot of fast chargers to support that as well. So Biden's plan is to add over 500,000 new charging outlets by the end of 2030. But as the plan says, it will require a lot of work with local and state officials to get those chargers installed. And there's not a lot of details here, so I'm not sure if this will come in the form of some sort of tax credit for EV charging installations or just straight up funding for local communities to install chargers. Right now, there's around 34,000 charging stations in the United States, so adding 500,000 would be about a 16 times increase, meaning there would be chargers just about everywhere. Another thing to note here is that it does say public charging outlets, so any chargers installed would be available to anybody driving an electric vehicle. They wouldn't be for private use. So it's unlikely there'll be any federal support for private charging installations in your garage, for example. But fortunately, there are a lot of local incentives already for those types of chargers. So the goal of all of this is not only to improve the climates and make it a better environment for us to live in, but also to add a lot of manufacturing jobs to America. And Biden sees EVs as an opportunity to do both. They can be a great thing for the climate and local air pollution, and as we transition to a more electric future and we're producing a lot of these vehicles in America, that will put a ton of people to work. Biden's climate plan is actually pretty exhaustive. If you want to take a look at the full thing, I'll have that linked in the description below. But let me know what you think of these EV plans from the Biden administration. I'm pretty excited about them as a current EV owner, and I'm excited to see how well these plans play out in the future. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.